Chapter 391. Benjamin asked the bodyguard to drive the car to the entrance of the mall. Once they came out of the building, the bodyguard swiftly took their things and placed them into the car. "Mr. Graham, let us hop in." After Benjamin opened the car door, he carried the children into the car. Orissa did the same as well. After buckling their seatbelts, Benjamin closed the car door. Without needing Benjamin to urge her, Orissa went into the car, closed the door, and buckled her seatbelt. Benjamin then took the car keys from his bodyguard and strode to the other side to enter the car. Soon, they drove off. When Miranda York saw Orissa, her eyes went wide. When did she come back? Once she noticed the man with Orissa, her eyes widened even more. He's so handsome. Moreover, he's definitely a rich man. How can this bitch Orissa get everything good? Who's that man? Miranda gritted her teeth in jealousy as she stared at the expensive car and the bodyguard's car following Orissa's car. Instantly, she called home. "Mom, I saw Orissa just now. She's still alive, and she's with a man. She must be someone's sugar baby. She even pretended not to know me when I called out to her." Miranda refused to believe that Orissa had a proper relationship with the man, so she deliberately twisted the truth and spun an outrageous tale. Soon, Regan York, Orissa's father, heard Miranda's words. Livid, he slammed his palm onto the coffee table and bellowed, "Outrageous! Why didn't she come home to see us if she was still alive? Does she still think of us as her family? Don't be mad. Issa probably just came back. She might come and visit you tomorrow." There's also a possibility that Miranda saw the wrong person, Heather Lane consoled Regan, portraying herself to be the kind mother standing up for Orissa. How can she possibly have gotten the wrong person? How can Miranda not recognize her own sister? Regan fumed. Despicable girl. She went missing and made me clean up after her mess, and now, she's shamelessly become someone's mistress. Even if she's shameless, I'm not. Call her right now and have her come back here right away. I'm going to break her legs. Heather was secretly delighted at how enraged Regan was. I don't have her number," Heather said cautiously to Regan. Regan furrowed his brows. "That's right. She's been missing for such a long time. We don't even have her number now. Call her old number." Left without a choice, Heather dialed Orissa's old number, but the call did not go through. "The call won't go through. Damn it." Regan threw the television remote in a fit of fury. Nevertheless, Orissa had no idea how much the Yorks are cursing at her. After she and Benjamin returned to the Graham residence, she brought the 5 children upstairs for their showers. After shopping for the entire night, the children were exhausted. Once they were done with their showers, they all obediently went to bed to sleep. Orissa only left to take her shower after the children were asleep. Just as she closed the door behind her, 4 of the children sat upright on their beds. The next thing they did was take out their laptops and began using them. The only one who remained asleep was Jessie. Gavin said, "We've got to be extra careful. Benjamin's hacker is really skillful." Zachary gave him a confident grin and replied, "This is nothing to me." Oliver nodded. "Don't worry, Gavin, we're equally skillful," Jasper urged. "Let's hurry up then." Thus, the 4 children rapidly typed away. In less than a minute, the content that Benjamin had asked his men to work on appeared. Once the children realized what it was about, their eyes widened, and their jaws went slack. Then, they turned to look at each other, baffled. Jasper was the first to speak. "We're all here, so why is he still looking for the children?" "Yes, it's strange." Zachary frowned, as confused as his brother. Oliver then said, "Who really is Mr. Graham looking for? Why is he using Gavin's photo?" Right then, a glint flashed past Gavin's eyes, and he whispered, "Could it be that we have more brothers?" Chapter 392. Meanwhile, when Orissa went back into her room, she called Bradley. "Bradley, do you have any news about the kid yet?" "No," Bradley replied as he continued analyzing the data on his computer. "Boss, I've received a part of the data. I'm still sorting it through. When I'm done, we'll comb the cities one by one." Hearing that, Orissa drew her brows together. "This is tough, but this is the only way to find my child. No matter how hard this is, I won't give up." Send me a copy. A second later, a thought popped into Arissa's mind. Say, where do you think Donna might have sent the kid to? Could she have arranged for them to be with friends or family? Boss, you're so smart. Why didn't I think about this earlier? This is very likely. If that woman stole the kid away to stop Benjamin from getting the kid, she'll surely want to stay involved. If she's not going to have her family or friends raising the kid, then she must have sent the kid somewhere. We'll still be able to find clues to the kid's whereabouts. I'm going to check her connections right now. I'll go through each and every one she knows. Then, I'll pretend to get close to them and look into them, Bradley exclaimed. Arissa thought that was a good plan. At the very least, it was a better plan than going through all of the children of a specific age in the country. Check both sides, was what Arissa instructed him, for she did not want to let any clues slip past her at all. Yes, boss. After a moment of silence, Bradley consoled, Boss, stay calm. We'll find the kid without further delay, but this is going to take a while. You'll have to ready yourself for the likelihood that we won't be finding the kid so soon. I know. Send me the data in a while. Remember to take breaks too, Arissa said to Bradley before ending the call and heading off to the bathroom. Just as she entered the bathroom, the 4 children, who were by the door, ran back to their room. No one realized they had been there a moment ago. Gavin looked at Jasper, Oliver, and Zachary. He then said in a solemn tone, Mommy's looking for this kid too. Zachary's brows were drawn together as he nodded and said, It seems like Mommy had another kid. Right then, Jasper and Oliver shared a look. Oliver suggested, Why don't we ask Mommy about it? Instantly, the others whipped their heads over to look at him. Jasper frowned and sat down on the couch. We've asked her things a few times before, but Mommy never tells us anything. Will she really give us an answer if we ask her like this? Mommy must be scared of us being worried, and that's why she's refusing to tell us about it, Zachary said determinedly before turning to Gavin. It's just like Gavin. We didn't know about him when we were overseas too. Mommy's hiding things from us. She won't tell us anything. Oliver huffed. A moment later, Gavin blinked. If Mommy doesn't want us to know about it, we'll pretend not to know about it. Zachary glanced at him before expressing his agreement. Sure, we can pretend not to know anything, but we can also secretly look for that kid. At that, Zachary looked at Oliver and Jasper. His 2 younger brothers had nothing to say to that, for they were planning to just heed their older brother's words. How are we going to start looking for them? Jasper was baffled. Not even his mother and father had a clue where the child was. Upon hearing Jasper's question, the 4 brothers fell into a stumped silence. Let's start looking by searching how the kid disappeared. I'm sure we'd be able to find something from there, right? Oliver blurted out. That was something Gavin and Zachary thought of as well. Donna snatched me away back then, so naturally, our brother must have been taken by her as well. We'll start from Donna. A sly glint flashed past Zachary's eyes. Oliver and Jasper turned to their brother. Zachary, did you come up with a plan? Zachary motioned for them to come closer to him before he whispered, We'll look into Donna's whereabouts 5 years ago. Immediately, Oliver, Jasper, and Gavin's eyes lit up. That's a good idea. How do we do this? Jasper asked. How silly. Zachary smacked his brother on his head. By checking through the surveillance footage. Chapter 393. Oliver glanced at Zachary and reminded him, Not everywhere has a surveillance camera 5 years ago. That's right, but it's still a chance. Maybe we'll find a clue or two, Zachary confidently said before turning to Gavin. Gavin, do you still remember how old you were when you were sent back to Mr. Graham? Gavin nodded. Even though he himself did not remember it, his family had talked about it before. I think I was sent back a few days after I was born. We have a surveillance camera by the doorway, so we'll be able to check the time as well. With that said, Gavin quickly looked for the surveillance footage. Soon, the 4 boys were tapping away to check the house surveillance camera. Meanwhile, Benjamin was in his study when the alarms of the system suddenly rang. A wary look flickered in his eyes. Benjamin did not intercept the intruder. Instead, he looked into the intruder's information instead. Mr. Graham, Someone has hacked into Yaleview's surveillance system, the butler, Edwin, quickly reported to Benjamin after receiving the news from the bodyguard. I understand. You can leave it be. After staring at the dot that they had tracked down, Benjamin stood up and left the study. We don't need to do anything about it. Edwin asked, perplexed. Go rest, was all Benjamin told him before he went upstairs. When Edwin noticed that Benjamin seemed unfazed by the news, he had no choice but to ignore the matter as per instructed. All of a sudden, Benjamin abruptly opened the door to the children's room and stared right into the four boys' panicking eyes. Busted. Looks of fear and anxiety flashed past the four boys' faces. They were scared that Benjamin would lose his temper. At the same time, Gavin quickly turned off his laptop. What are you doing? Benjamin asked in a low voice, his grave expression a petrifying one. Gavin then quickly stood in front of his younger brothers before looking at Benjamin. We're playing a game. Benjamin raised a brow and stared at the lying boy. In the next second, he pressed his lips tightly together. Gavin, when have you started telling lies? It's only been a few days, but he's already lying like her. Gavin glared at Benjamin. When Benjamin saw the stubborn look on his son's face, he felt a sudden headache. Why did you hack into the house's surveillance camera? As he spoke, he swept his gaze across the four children. Instantly, the boys looked guilty. After all, they were only children. They would panic when they were caught red-handed. Finally, Zachary mustered up the courage and said to Benjamin, we're just checking something. Benjamin narrowed his eyes at the way the brothers were protecting each other. What were you checking? Benjamin was surprised when he traced the hacker's location to the children's room earlier. He thought it would be Arissa behind the hacking, but it turned out to be the boys. The boys continued pursing their lips. In the meantime, once Arissa was done with her shower, she came out to hear voices outside. Curious, she stepped out of the bedroom, only to see Benjamin interrogating the boys. At the same time, the boys had their heads lowered, looking as if they were getting berated for something they had done wrong. What's the matter? Arissa turned to look at the serious man. Benjamin glanced to the side before his eyes darkened. Arissa had just come out of the shower, and she was wearing a lace nightgown. Her skin was particularly fair against the fabric, and he could even catch a whiff of fragrance from her direction. Benjamin swallowed. You'll have to ask them about it. Arissa averted her eyes from the man's burning gaze and turned to look at the children instead. What's the matter? Why aren't you asleep? She remembered clearly that she had waited until they had fallen asleep before heading to her showers. Yet, not only were they not asleep, but they were even getting interrogated by Benjamin. Arissa was puzzled. Gavin only pursed his lips in silence. After a glance at Gavin, Zachary decided to come clean. Mommy, we wanted to look into something, so we hacked into Mr. Graham's house's surveillance system. Arissa gasped. What for? The kid's been rowdy recently. Why did they do this? Chapter 394. Afraid that Benjamin would be angry, Arissa stole a glance at the man and was greeted by the sight of Benjamin's serious expression. A large part of her confidence fled her, and Arissa half-whispered, they didn't destroy your surveillance system, did they? Benjamin shot her a look. She fell silent. Mommy, we didn't. We just went into the system for the surveillance footage, Jasper hastily said. That's right. We didn't do anything. We just took a peek at the information we wanted, Oliver chimed in. That made Arissa even more curious. She walked over to her children and crouched down. Tell Mommy, what were you looking for? Promptly, the boys clamped their mouths shut and looked at her guiltily. Arissa raised a brow. They're acting strangely, she thought. Thus, she lowered her voice and instructed, be honest. Hearing that, they looked at her before sneaking a glance at Benjamin. We just wanted to find out when Donna had brought me back. Gavin finally whispered. A shudder racked Arissa's body. Why are you looking into this? Benjamin was as confused as she was as he looked at the boys. After peeking at Arissa, Gavin began worrying his lips. He then lowered his head and muttered, we want to help to look for our other brother. Brother. For a moment, Arissa could not decipher what he was talking about. Zachary then clarified Gavin's words by saying, Mommy, we're just hoping to find that other brother of ours a little faster. Orissa stiffened. She was astounded and confounded about how they had found out about it. Benjamin found it peculiar as well. He turned to Orissa and asked, "Did you tell them about it?" "No," Orissa blurted out. She then ruffled their hair and queried, "How did you find out about this?" Again, the boys fell silent. After all, they had found out about it themselves. "Did you overhear our conversation?" Benjamin narrowed his eyes at the boys. "No way." Zachary shot him a glare. "We found out after hacking into your phone," Gavin confessed as he looked right at Benjamin. Benjamin raised a brow, thinking, "The little punk's gutsy. I can't believe he's hacking into my phone now." Orissa looked at Benjamin from the corner of her eyes. When she realized that the man had frightened the children, she quickly hugged them. At the same time, she reminded them, "You can't hack into people's phones like this the next time, got it?" If Orissa had to be honest, sometimes she found the children a little too smart to handle. The boys nodded. "Okay, Mommy, we were just worried about you. We wanted to know why you were crying," Oliver quickly explained to Orissa, not wanting to get a scolding from her. Orissa was relieved by his response. Ultimately, she was the one at fault. "Mommy didn't want to tell you about it because I was scared you'd be overthinking things." At that, Zachary's eyes lit up. "Mommy, did you really have another baby?" Staring at the enthusiastic boys, Orissa nodded. "But he's not your baby brother, he's your older brother." The corner of Zachary's lips twitched at that. "An older brother? I'm going to be even further down the line." "Mommy, is he my older brother too?" Gavin quickly asked. Orissa turned to Gavin and sighed. "I've forgotten. I don't know who's older and who's younger." Orissa had not even seen her children before they brought her babies away. "Mommy, why didn't you tell us about this? Why did you hide this from us?" "Gavin too," Oliver complained. Orissa gave him an apologetic smile. "I didn't want you to worry." Right then, Gavin excitedly asked, "Mommy, does that mean there are 6 of us?" Orissa nodded. That was something she was certain of. "I gave birth to 6 of you back then." The boys chuckled, but in the next second, they sighed. "Where is the brother whom we haven't met? The few of you shouldn't make things worse." "Daddy will find him," Benjamin warned the children. "We'll be able to find him quicker with more help," Zachary insisted. He did not think that they were making things worse. "That's right. You hid this from us, but we still found out it all by ourselves. This is how capable we are," Jasper pointed out confidently. Chapter 395. There was nothing Benjamin could say to refute. After all, the children had managed to hack into his phone, which was not something normal hackers were capable of doing. Once again, Benjamin was taken aback by how skillful they were. When Orissa realized that Benjamin had been stunned by the children's intellect, a chuckle escaped her. Simultaneously, she was proud of the children's wits. Nevertheless, that did not mean she could let them off. "Let the adults find your brother, so don't intervene in this anymore. If anything goes wrong, your daddy will be distracted because he'll have to deal with another matter." The boys pouted in response. Jasper then grumbled under his breath, "Maybe we'll end up finding him before you do." Orissa patted his head. "Mommy's just worried that you'll accidentally ruin someone's system. This isn't safe." "Mommy, we'll be careful," Oliver insisted. With a smile, Orissa gently tapped his nose. "All right, hurry to your beds. It's late now." They were sleeping just now. "I can't believe they climbed out of their beds to do this." Zachary cheekily giggled. "Mommy, it's all because you didn't tell us about this. So I'm to blame." Orissa shot him a look. Just then, Gavin abruptly hugged Orissa, who froze in response. "What's the matter, sweetheart?" "Mommy, don't worry. We'll surely find my little brother." Touched by his words, Orissa patted the boy's back and hummed with a smile, "All right." Zachary then glimpsed at Gavin and said, "Little brother. Gavin, he might be your big brother." Gavin turned to him. "Yes, he might be my big brother." Zachary sighed. "I might no longer be the second in line." Orissa let out an amused chuckle. Jasper then giggled at Oliver. "That means of even younger now. You're all the same age. It's just that one came out before another," Orissa consoled before urging them to go to sleep again. "Hurry to your bed now. It's late. You'll wake the young one, Benjamin urged as well when he saw Jesse turned in the bed. The boys spared him a glance before giving Orissa a cheek and climbing into their beds. Good night, Mommy. Good night, sweethearts. Orissa then tucked them in. Good night, Mr. Graham. Jasper cried out to Benjamin. Benjamin's lips curled. Good night. Zachary and Oliver then did the same. On the other hand, Gavin was angry with Benjamin, so he turned away and refused to wish him good night. Benjamin furrowed his brows. Once the children were all asleep, he asked Orissa to go to his room. Orissa left the night lamp on before leaving the room and closing the door behind her. She then glanced in the direction of Benjamin's room and hesitated. However, a certain person was nowhere to be found when she entered the room. Instead, she could hear the sounds of running water from the bathroom. Orissa was speechless for a moment. What? He called me here, but he went to take a shower instead. Right as she was about to return to the guest room, the man's voice traveled out of the bathroom. Give me a moment. I'll be right there. Orissa's eyes flicked toward the bathroom, a little startled. Can he see through walls? How did he know that I'm here? Still, there was nothing Orissa could do but wait in the room for him. A few minutes later, Benjamin finally emerged from the bathroom. When he came out, Orissa had been looking at the decorations in his room. Upon hearing the sound of the door opening, she spun around to look at him. At that moment, her eyes met the man's muscular physique. It was a sight that stunned her a little. Orissa gulped. A glint flashed past Benjamin's eyes, and he strode toward her. Immediately, the man's unique scent rushed toward her and enveloped her. Orissa's heart began thumping loudly as a blush crept upon her face. Are you enjoying the view? What? Orissa's heart skipped a beat, and her hand shook. Immediately, the piece of decoration she was holding in her hands fell. A man of swift response, Benjamin leaned over and caught it in time. Do you know how much this thing costs? He questioned, a dangerous glint in his eyes. Orissa swallowed again, shocked. A beat later, she squeezed out, how much? Chapter 396. Benjamin glanced at Orissa and said indifferently, even selling you won't be enough to cover the compensation. Orissa was bursting with fury. If it weren't for you, I wouldn't have dropped it. What did I do? Benjamin raised his eyebrows intimidatingly. Orissa froze for a moment. She pushed him away furiously and went to stand at the side. At the same time, she was angry with herself. How could I let myself be distracted by his good looks? Benjamin looked at her indignant expression from the corner of his eyes. His eyes glinted with amusement. Then, he put the ornament back to its position. Why did you call me here? Orissa reminded Benjamin when she saw him arranging his things with no inclination to speak. Benjamin turned to her. Did you teach Zachary and the other children hacking skills? Orissa was stunned for a moment. She didn't expect him to bring this up. Yes, she nodded in response. Her children followed her around since they were little and learned by observing what she did. Furthermore, they liked programming, so she taught them. To her surprise, her children showed superb talent in it, and their skills now surpassed hers. Since Benjamin found out about their hacking skills, there was no point hiding them from him. You taught them well, Benjamin praised suddenly, prompting Orissa to look at him in shock. However, he began criticizing her right after that. It is right to teach some skills, but it is wrong to teach them bad behaviors. Orissa knew that he was blaming her. She thought he was accusing her of allowing the children to hack into his surveillance cameras. I didn't know the children hacked into your surveillance cameras. Orissa felt indignant about his wrongful accusation. Furthermore, they are your children, so isn't this their home too? What's wrong with hacking into the surveillance cameras in their home to find something? Is that against the law? Benjamin remained calm as he looked at Orissa's furious expression. He liked that she called this place home. I didn't say that they broke the law. They can check the surveillance records anytime they want, Benjamin answered without a hint of anger. Orissa was stunned before asking, what were you talking about then? Benjamin looked at her with an ambiguous smile. Why are you agitated? Orissa replied indignantly, weren't you blaming me for misguiding the children? How dare he denies it now? Benjamin answered, what I wanted to say was you should not lie before the children. Now, Gavin learned to lie too. Orissa had a stunned expression. After a moment, she glared at Benjamin and retorted, when did I lie before the children? Benjamin furrowed his brow. Does this mean that she only lied before me? Orissa became stern as she glared at Benjamin. Even if I said something wrong, it was for the sake of our children. Benjamin's expression turned solemn. You lied to me many times. Orissa was rendered speechless. He is bringing this up again. Is there anyone who has never told a lie? Have you never lied before? Do you dare to swear that you have never told a lie? Orissa replied. Her answer rendered him speechless. What lie did Gavin say? Why are you finding fault with me? Since he grew up with you, doesn't that mean he learned to lie from you? Orissa continued furiously. Benjamin raised Gavin, so Gavin shared the same mannerism and character as him. I didn't spend much time with Gavin, so how can I influence him? Even if he learned to lie, I don't find anything wrong with that. Sometimes, a lie doesn't hurt anyone but lessens the potential damage. I caught them red-handed, but they still denied that they did it. Benjamin groaned softly. Orissa glanced at him and could not resist rolling her eyes. The children were scared, because you were too strict. Who would dare to tell the truth in their position? Didn't they all tell the truth after I asked them? Benjamin frowned at her response. Is she happy that the children listened to her? Isn't it wrong for the children to lie? Benjamin replied unhappily. Orissa did not wish to continue arguing with him. It is wrong for the children to lie. Benjamin was stumped. Chapter 397. Benjamin did not expect her to agree with him. Therefore, he smirked and said, So what? Orissa pursed her lips. Do you have anything else to say? If not, I'm going to bed. Benjamin looked at her with a stunned expression. Since he did not say anything, Orissa turned around and left. At the door, she glanced at him and reminded him, remember to take your medicine. A glint flashed across Benjamin's eyes, and he grunted in response. Orissa returned to the guest room and lay on the bed. She could not calm down for a long time. A tall and sturdy masculine figure kept appearing in her mind. Furthermore, he had just come out of a bath and was wrapped only in a towel. Orissa turned in her bed and covered her face with a blanket. After a while, she finally emerged from it with a flushed face. She suddenly remembered about the child and sat on the bed. Then, she checked her phone. Bradley had sent her something. Therefore, Orissa went to get her laptop and turned it on. She opened the email and began focusing on the investigation. If the child has been registered on the census, the registration date should be close to the child's birth date. Orissa narrowed the search to children registered within a few months. It reduced the number of children tremendously. Then, Orissa kept searching through the records for a long time. Benjamin came out of his study at 1 o'clock in the morning and went upstairs. As he was about to return to his bedroom, he noticed the light under Orissa's door. He paused his step and went toward her door. Then, he knocked on the door, but there was no response. Did she fall asleep and forget to turn off the light? Benjamin opened the door and saw the bed, but it was empty. His eyes flickered. Then, he glanced around and noticed Orissa sitting at the coffee table. She was busy working before her laptop. Thus, he went to her and asked, "What are you doing? Why aren't you in bed?" Orissa jumped at the sudden voice. She glared at Benjamin and complained, "You scared me. Is he a ghost? How did he appear without making a noise?" Benjamin raised his eyebrows and explained, "I knocked just now." "Really?" Orissa looked at him with a confused expression. She did not hear anything just now. Benjamin narrowed his eyes when he saw children's registration records on her computer screen. "Did you find these?" Orissa looked at the screen. "Bradley found them. I'm sorting through the data. Many of these children are now in kindergarten, so we should be able to find their photos in the kindergarten's records. Then, we should be able to find the child soon." Suddenly, Benjamin became gloomy, causing the atmosphere in the room to turn tense. Orissa could sense the sudden change in his mood and turned to him. However, her heart skipped when she saw his handsome but stern expression. "What's wrong?" she asked. Benjamin had an intimidating gaze. His eyes were cold and contained a hint of anger. What is your relationship with Bradley? Benjamin felt indignant when he remembered Bradley bringing her to the prison that morning. Orissa was stunned before answering, isn't it obvious? He called me, boss, so I treated him as a younger brother. Benjamin frowned and remained unhappy. They seem close. Benjamin's expression darkened at that thought. Orissa could not understand what was wrong with him. She looked away and continued with her investigation. Suddenly, Benjamin sat beside her and took her laptop from her. Orissa was stunned. Go to sleep. I will search for the child. Benjamin sent out Gavin's photo and used software to scan the data. Orissa was dazzled by his skills. Benjamin glared at Orissa when he noticed she still had not gone to bed. You should go to sleep now. Orissa pursed her lips and said. Shouldn't you sleep too? Benjamin's eyes flashed, and he leaned closer to her. He gave an ambiguous smirk. Do you want me to accompany you? Orissa felt his hot breath against her skin and began to blush. Chapter 398. She looked down and uttered, that's not true. When her computer was taken away by him, Orissa had no choice but to go to bed. Benjamin carried on looking through the data. Orissa glanced at his profile and added, you should sleep early too. We'll look for it tomorrow. Benjamin glanced at her and said, okay. Very soon, he had finished checking the list of children who had enrolled in the kindergarten, but he found nothing. Benjamin frowned. Logically, a 5-year-old child should be attending a kindergarten by then. Some children even started attending much earlier when they were 2 or 3 years of age. How is it that I can't find this child? Perhaps, the child has never even been to school before. Benjamin considered all the possibilities. He sent the information to Ethan before shutting down the computer. After taking a look at the woman who was sleeping, he turned off the light in the room and left. Benjamin returned to his room and made a phone call. Look for children who aren't attending schools, in particular the countryside areas. Yes, Mr. Graham, answered Ethan sleepily. He had just laid down to rest when he received Benjamin's phone call. Benjamin told Ethan that he would send him the data for him to look through. After that, Benjamin hung up the phone. The following day, Ethan did not sleep the entire night. The next morning, he came to the Graham residence and reported to Benjamin. Mr. Graham, I can't locate the child among the children who have enrolled in the kindergartens. I have checked once and also got a few others to look through, but we just can't find him. They had all looked through the data without the use of any software. Ethan was still shocked after he found out that Benjamin had another child. Miss York sure knows how to give birth. Benjamin acknowledged him with a grunt and said nothing more. Ethan saw that his boss was frowning deeply and asked, Mr. Graham, do you really have another son? Benjamin looked up at him and raised his voice. They said there are 6 babies. Ethan was taken aback. Is he referring to Miss York and Miss Adams? Mr. Graham, it takes too much time and effort to search for him this way. Why don't you just ask Miss Adams directly? No, Orissa just got up. When she heard Ethan's suggestion, she objected immediately. She walked into the study with her eyes on them. Even if we have to ask her, it will be me. Donna has warned me not to tell you. Benjamin frowned and reminded her in a deep voice, don't go and see her anymore. He then turned to Ethan and ordered, arrange for a meeting. I want to see her. Yes, Mr. Graham. With that, Ethan left and got to work. Benjamin, Orissa was worried that Donna might become desperate. Don't worry, I will make sure everything is all right and won't let her leak out any information. A look of viciousness flashed across Benjamin's eyes. Ethan and the others had been investigating during the entire night, but there was no news. He had no idea when the child could be found. The longer that dragged on, the more dangerous it would be for the child. The fastest way would be to ask Donna directly. Orissa believed that Benjamin had the ability to do that, so in the end, she agreed. Mr. Graham, we are ready. Shall we get on? Reported Ethan. Benjamin nodded and got up to leave the study. Orissa had no choice but to take the children for breakfast before sending them to school. When Benjamin arrived at the prison, it was not time for visitation yet. However, the prison wardens had received their instructions earlier on, so they had already brought Donna out. Is Orissa here? Donna was very excited. That woman must have caved in. No one answered her question. Donna waited and waited, but there was no sign of Orissa. Why isn't she here yet? Is it really Orissa? Will Orissa come so early to see me? It doesn't seem to be visitation hours yet. When the time got closer, Donna started to get anxious. She had a feeling that her visitor might be Benjamin. The moment Benjamin appeared, Donna was both horrified and happy. Benjamin, are you here to get me out? I know I'm wrong. Please forgive me. Benjamin looked at her coldly without any emotion. Chapter 399. You want me to get you out of here? He ridiculed. You have hidden my son somewhere. What makes you think I'm going to get you out of here? Donna's face turned pale instantly. She looked at Benjamin with fear. He knows. He knows. That bloody Orissa. I can't believe she told Benjamin. I don't know what you are talking about. Donna regained her composure very quickly and denied the accusation. Benjamin narrowed his eyes. Benjamin, don't listen to what that woman has told you. She's lying to you. Donna was trying to smear Orissa. In the past, her attempt might have worked. However, Benjamin knew her true colors by now. He scoffed. Donna, you better tell me the truth. I'm running out of patience. There was panic in Donna's eyes. Benjamin, can you please get me out of here? As long as you let me out, I will tell you. She's trying to bargain with me. A murderous aura flashed across Benjamin's eyes. Recalling all the times when he had been duped by Donna, Benjamin became furious. He reached out with one hand and strangled her. He was squeezing her neck so hard that the veins on his hand were popping out. When Donna saw how infuriated Benjamin was, her terrified face turned red and then purple. Help. There was no one else in the interrogation room except for Benjamin and her. Even if Donna could scream, no one would come and rescue her. Benjamin really wanted to strangle her to death, but the thought of his missing son changed his mind. At the very last moment, he released his hand. Donna fell straight to the ground and looked extremely pathetic. It was only after a long while before her breathing resumed to normalcy. Benjamin had nearly killed her. Donna cowered in a corner of the room in terror. She was trembling badly and eyed Benjamin with caution. Benjamin took out a handkerchief and wiped his hand clean before throwing it aside. The way he despised and hated her made Donna very upset. However, at that moment, her fear outweighed her heartbrokenness. In that instant, Benjamin was as horrifying as Hades. He loomed over her and stared at her with contempt. I will only give you one chance. Even if you don't say it, I will still find that child. But when that happens, don't hope to live on. Or are you thinking that the Addams family will be able to fight against me? When Donna saw that he had become so heartless unlike the old days, her face turned paler. That was her only chance to beg Benjamin to let her out of that awful place. Benjamin, if you let me out of here, I'll tell you where the child is. I didn't hurt him. I swear. Please believe me. Benjamin sneered. Donna is good. During a time like this, she still wants to play games with me. You dare to set me up. What makes you think I will believe you? As far as he was concerned, if Donna had the guts to abuse Gavin, he wondered what she would have done to the other child. Benjamin's handsome face turned grim when that thought crossed his mind. If you hurt him, I won't let you go. Tell me. Donna shivered in fear. That child is already dead. How will I know where he is? But, if Benjamin finds out, I'll die a horrible death for sure. Donna shuddered at the thought of it. Benjamin lost his patience and took out his phone. Take over Addams Group. Donna's eyes widened in fear, and she crawled all the way to Benjamin. She held on to his legs and begged him. Benjamin, please don't do this to me, please spare my family. Benjamin kicked her aside, and Donna slammed hard against the wall. With one cough, she spat out blood. Benjamin, please let my family off. I'll tell you. Benjamin narrowed his eyes and looked at her icily. I don't know where that child is. Donna noticed the dangerous glint in Benjamin's eyes, and with a shudder. She continued, I'm so sorry. I lost him. It's true. Originally, there were two of them. When I returned after buying something, one of them disappeared. No matter how bold I am, I won't dare to hide your son. If I have brought both of them to you, you would have been happier. Benjamin looked as if he was going to annihilate her right there and then. Donna continued to hover in fear at the corner. Chapter 400. How dare you still try to fool me? Benjamin's bloodshot eyes made her hair stand. Donna was freaking out when she saw the murderous look in his eyes. No, I didn't. I'm telling you the truth. Donna shook her head vigorously, and she was trembling so badly that her voice quavered. Benjamin, please don't kill me. Donna was so frightened that she passed out. Benjamin glanced at her with utter disdain before walking away. He genuinely wanted to kill her, but it was not time yet. Mr. Graham, did you manage to get any information? Asked Ethan the moment he saw Benjamin walk out. Keep an eye on them, instructed Benjamin. He then left the prison. Yes, sir. Ethan followed him out and immediately arranged for people to keep a close watch on Donna and the Addams family. Meanwhile, Orissa was sending the children to school. Mommy, will you be fetching us later? Jessie was clinging on to her. Orissa got down on her knees and adjusted Jess's clothes. Yes, I'll be fetching all of you today. I broke my promise yesterday. I must make it up to them. She tidied the clothes for the rest of her children too. Go on, Mommy, bye-bye. Gavin waved to Orissa with a smile, and so did his siblings. Mommy, bye-bye. Bye, sweethearts. Orissa smiled lovingly as she waved goodbye to her children. The five of them then held hands and walked into the school together. She got into her car only after she was sure that they had gone in safely. Orissa then made a call to Benjamin. The call was answered the moment it got through. Hello. The deep, familiar voice rang out in her ears. Benjamin, how did it go? Benjamin paused before answering. I didn't manage to find out anything. Orissa sank into her seat, and worry appeared on her face. Even when Benjamin went personally to ask, he still failed to get the answer from Donna. Benjamin, why don't you release her? As the days went by with no sign of the child, Orissa simply could not be at ease. The thought of the child suffering somewhere made her clench with worry. It's useless even if we release her. Benjamin lowered his voice before continuing, go home first. I'll arrange for more people and expand the area of the search. Orissa bit on her lips nervously. After she hung up the phone, the images of the child being abused filled her mind. No, I can't just sit around and wait. I have to go and find him. Orissa calmed herself down and told the chauffeur to drive along the streets while she tried looking for the child. When she saw some children playing at the playground, she got down from the car. Orissa became more panicky when she saw that none of the children was her son. Sweetheart. Suddenly, she saw a child that resembled him. She rushed over and turned the child around. When she saw that it was not him, her heart fell. That child got so frightened that he broke out in tears. What are you doing? Stop touching my child. Crazy woman. The parent of the boy berated her before quickly picking up the boy and walking away. When Orissa's bodyguard saw her worried expression, he advised her, Miss York, let's go back home first. This isn't a good way to look for anyone. No, I have to find him as soon as possible. If not, he will be abused. Orissa teared up, and the dreaded feeling washed over her again. When her bodyguard saw her like that, he informed Benjamin, Mr. Graham, Miss York refuses to go home. She's looking for the child all over the streets. By the time Benjamin got to them, Orissa was acting like a mad woman. She was looking for the child aimlessly. He strode over to her and pulled her toward the car. Come back with me. Let go of me. I want to find my child. Orissa struggled. Maybe, my sweetheart is walking on the streets. When she saw a few young beggars, she struggled even harder. Orissa's hand slipped out of Benjamin's hand, and she rushed over to the young beggars. One by one, she looked at them carefully. No, no, have you seen a child that looks like this one? She took out her phone and showed the young beggars the photo of her 5 children. They shook their heads. Orissa's eyes reddened. Where is my sweetheart?